Welcome back. So we are going to do a quick recap as to what we have covered up till now. So we set up the N8N self-hosted. We set up Directus, the headless CMS. And then we generated social media posts in bulk without images. Then we created the tokens and set up the credentials for LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. Then we actually generated social media posts and we did our first agent by scheduling the post on autopilot. And now we are going to see what's next. We will build a chatbot for your site. So this is going to be a WordPress site. Now this will scan your site, gives answers in real time for your website. We'll take a quick look at the prerequisites. So we need N8N self-hosted. We already set that up initially when we set up the self-hosted N8N. We also set up a quadrant database. This is a vector database. I will discuss on the vector database later. We also need a WordPress site. So you can have any WordPress site with access to the admin panel. And we will also need an open AI API key, which is the ChatGPT API platform key. If you do not have this, that is fine. We will help you generate the key. So what we'll do now is we'll look at what is a vector database. So a vector database is a database which stores the information in a special code. So whatever it is, the text, the picture, the data, whatever you're giving, it stores in a special code, and that code is called an embedding. So vector databases usually store embeddings, so they don't really store data which you can really understand. So an embedding, will be something like 0.00086 minus 0.000 something. So as we move forward, we will take a look at it. But for now, what we'll do is we'll understand what's a vector database. So vector database is a special data type which stores your data into embeddings. And why we do that is because embeddings are much reliable to look for data when you need to do semantic search or similar searches. So for example, if you see the example of the book over here, so if you want to say find books that feel like this funny pig, you know so you don't really need to know the exact name of the book, right? So you don't really need to know the title should contain this or contain that. You're just telling find it like this. So anything similar is going to throw up a match based on the score and other settings. So then you will be able to find it through the vector database. Now, I completely understand this does not make sense to you as we move along and we are through with the chatbot. You will start to see why it makes sense, because vector is something which is difficult to explain. So you may hear terms like RAG or the RAG pipeline. So this is a RAG pipeline which we are doing right now. So we are picking up your data from your live data on the WordPress site, and then we are going to feed it into the vector database. And then when someone searches on the chatbot, it's going to pull up the data and link it right back to your original database, which is your WordPress site with the link. So it's going to be pretty cool when you see this in action. So let's move forward. Step one is collect all information and store it in a vector database for retrieval. And step two is we are going to make an agent in N8N to detect and pull that information from the vector database. So step two is the actual chatbot. So when you write, you're going to check it, and then you are going to pull that data. And step three is finally, we are going to connect the WordPress site to the N8N agent. So when the user comes on the website, he sees that in action. Before we get started, we need to update our self-hosted N8N instance. So we are going to log into Putty. We are just going to also enable the tunnels so we can access our quadrant locally because it's not exposed from the outside world. So we'll just say go to the tunnels, source port 6333, destination localhost :6333, click add, go to the session again on the top and save it so you don't lose it next time. And now we will log in to our self-hosted N8N instance. So after logging in, we can see that there are 17 updates to apply on the CentOS system as well. So we are going to first check what containers are running on our Docker by doing docker ps. So we see we have about 6 containers running, which is great. So we will pull down all those containers by saying docker compose down, and here you go, the containers are down gracefully. And now we are going to say docker compose pull space container name. So we are going to update n8n first. So, and we're going to hit enter. Oh, there's a spelling mistake over there. We are just going to correct that spelling mistake and go for it. And here you go. So it is pulling that information for you, and it's done successfully. So we can update the quadrant as well. So we're going to say docker compose pull quadrant, same thing. And it's going to take a few seconds to a minute depending on your internet speed and where your Docker container is. And now we can see no Docker is running because we pull all the Docker containers down. Now we're going to say docker compose up -d, which means start all the Docker containers, docker ps again to check what is running. So here we have all our containers healthy and go. Now we are going to run the CentOS update by running the command sudo apt update and space sudo apt space upgrade. So it says just update the CentOS or the operating system hosting the Docker container. Okay, so this will take a few minutes depending on your container type and speed. So we are going to wait for this to finish. Okay. So now we are done with that. We need to restart the container. It's telling, some updates are deferred because they need to be restarted. So we are going to restart the container by doing shutdown -r now. And after restarting, we just go and restart the session again, and we will log in. And there you are. You have 0 updates running, and your Docker container, we are just going to check all the Docker containers are up, which is wonderful. So we have successfully updated n8n, the OS, and the quadrant. So now we will head over to what we will do. So we have a knowledge base, which is essentially a WordPress hosted site. So you can build a chatbot on any WordPress site. It doesn't really need to be a knowledge base. So here you see we have various articles. So this is a demo of the chatbot I'm going to give you. So I'm going to ask the chatbot how to set up SSO, and it responds with the messaging and the content and the link. So that's how the chatbot should behave, and we are going to look at the end-to-end flow on how to achieve this. I hope you are excited, so am I. So let's go for it. So we'll build a chatbot that scans your site and gives answers in real time. So let's go for it. So we are going to create our vector DB, update the DB with our data from WordPress site. Again, it can be any WordPress site. We'll log into WordPress admin, select the user, hit on view, and then scroll right at the bottom. You need to have WordPress admin access, and we will create a new application password name, give it a name, and copy this password, and make sure you don't use the spaces after that. Head over to your n8n instance, create credential, select WordPress API. Once done, copy the username, put the same username you used where you create the application password, and the application password and your WordPress URL. Hit save and it will save it. I will just rename it for the sake of clarity to HRCKB because it's for the HR Chronicle website. I am doing this. And now we are done with our credential. So now we have to go to the workflows. We'll create a personal folder so that all our workflows related to the chatbot is in a different folder. It's organized. So we'll hit create workflow, and we are going to call the workflow update vector database. Now, usually what happens is when updates happen to the data on your website, you need to update the vector database too so that it can answer the questions accurately. Otherwise, it'll give all results. So we will discuss that as well. So we add a manual trigger first, and then we will quickly add a code node. So this will be the last sync date. So we can only pick up the data which is updated. So we don't need to pick up the full website again and again. So here we're just getting the last sync date. We'll wire this up and we will go ahead and add a new code node. This one is going to be the HTTP code node, and here we are just going to pick up the posts for the WordPress. And usually you can get the WordPress schema from the WordPress site. So I'm using a knowledge base plugin called KnowAll. So my schema is ht-kb, but yeah, you can do a little bit of search and you can find your schema easily. So we just hit the get to see, get one post updated after the last sync date. We will wire up a new code node to calculate the number of pages, because WordPress allows you to fetch only 50 to 100 posts in one API call. So you need to iterate between the pages to get it one by one. So we are going to come back to our last sync node where we put that, and we are going to include that option, include response header. So it tells us how many pages it's having, so we can sort it out. So as you see, XWP total, so total pages is 82. So I have 82 posts in WordPress, and I included the response header so I can see all those headers which are passed by the WordPress API automatically. This is just amazing. WordPress does that auto. So here, as you see in the code node, I'm dividing by 50, which means I'm picking up 50 pages per node. So I'll go 1 page and 2 page. I am going to go ahead and put another fetch request to actually fetch my WordPress data. So I will copy paste my WordPress WPI JSON, and we are going to just update the name of the node which was last sync date. So the date, so the node is in sync, otherwise it's not detecting. Now it's all green. So here what we are doing is we are going to say predefined credential type WordPress API, and we have only one API. So here what it's going to do is it is going to fetch all the 82 pages, 50 plus 50 together. So that's what it is going to do. Because we are doing this activity 2 times, it's going to fetch it 2 times. So now we just renamed it to fetch total pages where it's clear, and we're going to do some renaming on the calculate page number pages. We just remove the hyphens, and there you go. We have now our 82 pages data, and here you go. You see, this is all the content which is here. So now we need to sanitize the content and make it usable so we can ingest into our vector database. We will wire in a new code node, and we'll call it clean HTML and format documents. So here what we're going to essentially do is we're going to just strip the HTML like /n and any special characters, so it can, you know, ingest it into the vector database in readable format, because it's an HTML, so we don't need the HTML tags. Then we'll open up a browser, we'll go to localhost :6333, we'll get the vector dashboard /dashboard, we get the quadrant dashboard, and you will see the collection. We have to create a new collection over here to use it. So we'll create a new collection. I've called it HRC KB articles. You can call it whatever you want. Hit global search. So we need a single embedding. Now I understand it can be completely overwhelming, but that's fine. You follow along and then you can slowly learn the standards. So we need cosine because it's normal text. It's not a huge amount of data. Click finish. All done, all set. Okay, it's green. So we have our settings here, we have our articles here, and we also have our cleaned up HTML. So now we'll wire up a quadrant vector store node, and we'll say add documents. We'll set up the credentials. You don't need any API key because it's hosted locally on Quadrant. So you just put HTTP quadrant :6333. That's the default setting. If you have set it up differently, you have to use that name. We'll just rename it for easy reference and hit the save button. Everything's looking great. So now what we will do is, now we need to click on embedding. So click on embeddings, open API. Then it will ask you to create a credential for OpenAPI. You need to head over to OpenAPI or ChatGPT, log into the API platform, and click on API keys on the left. You may need to have a credit card if you don't already have one, and you just create a new secret key. From there, you have to go to project API keys, create new secret key, click over there, give a name, whatever name you want. So it's owned by you. You can select the project. You don't necessarily need any project as such. You can write whatever you like, and here you are. You have created the key. Copy the key, save it in a safe place. If anybody uses it, you're going to be billed, so make sure you store it securely. Choose the embedding as ADA002. Now we'll come on the document loader, choose the default document loader, and we'll say load specific data. We put in a JSON expression. We'll just drag and drop from the previous node. So here what we are simply doing is we are essentially just taking the data and loading into the quadrant. So we need to add some metadata. So we need to say what this data is related to. So we click add property. So we will have the title of the knowledge base article. We need to put the expression value as well as json.title. Everything should look green, and you don't need to worry. The workflows for this chatbot is already in the resources section, so you don't really need to worry about anything if you miss it. You just need to download and import into your N8N instance, plug in your credentials, and you are good to go. So we are just going to complete this particular thing and just fix this, and the article ID is the last piece. We are just going to write article ID. Okay, wonderful. So we have all the information we need. So now we have the metadata, we have the content. Now it's ready to go into our quadrant node. So now we will click on the quadrant store. It will go to OpenAPI and generate the embeddings. And here we come on the dashboard, hit refresh, and we are going to see we have 337 embeddings. That is looking great. We have all of our embeddings. We have the title, we have the link, we have the text. Everything is great. So we have successfully picked our database. We're going to do some adjustment over here. So what we'll do is, when you do the update the next time, we'll clear our quadrant collection so that it doesn't overwrite or duplicate the data. So we just put a post request, and we need our quadrant collection / collection name points delete, and use our quadrant credential and add a JSON payload to clear it. We don't need the lasting date because we are going to do a sync every time this runs. So we're going to clear out the vector DB and sync it. So we will click on the, we'll also update the data to pick up all the pages one by one, and we are going to do the JSON payload as well on the delete all point. That's why it's giving the error. So we have to come here and say send body. So we will send a JSON body basically, and we are going to say use the following JSON, and we are going to put an expression filter colon double bracket, and here it says acknowledge. So now you see we have no data in the collection. It's a 0 0, so all the data has vanished once we ran this, that's what we wanted. So now what happens is when you run this particular vector update database, it's going to do the data. We are going to remove the last sync update from here too. So there you are. Okay, so we have 130 2 items which we got, which is fine. And we are going to do our quadrant collection. Okay, so there you are. So we have got our vector loaded again, which is great. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we're going to just rerun this to check whether everything is okay. Okay, so it looks okay. It's the same data points we have. So now the next step is going to be we will create our agent in n8n, so it builds up the chat workflow, and then finally we will look at how to connect it to the WordPress site. Okay, let's move forward. Let's hit up a new workflow, and let's call it HRC chatbot. You can call it whatever you like. As usual, add a webhook, add a chat node, sorry, and we'll say on chat event we are going to make the chat public, and we are going to say it's a hosted chat. We are going to put a message over here. Now you can put whatever message you like for branding. We're going to say allow cores, which means it'll allow the response only from my website for security. We can add a subtitle, we can add a title, you can add whatever you want, and we can also say load previous session from memory, and which means that it'll remember the context. So memory, we'll just go to memory and choose simple memory, context window 5. We'll leave that as it is. We'll relabel it as chat history for reusability purposes. Then we wire up a new node, that's the HTTP requests node, and here we'll say create embedding. So what we'll do is we will get the chat message and send it to the chat GPT to create the embedding. We create the credential type, OpenAI, and then what we are going to do is send the body. So then the body will say model is text ADA2 and whatever we're putting in the chat. So it'll go and create the embedding, and then we wire another HTTP request node, and we will search the embedding with our embedding in Quadrant. So we take the raw data, convert it into the embedding format, and then search it in our local Quadrant to match what answer the chatbot is going to give. So I hope you are getting the point. If you're not getting, it's fine. Once it's all wired up, it will be better. So here it is. We can change the score threshold as well to suit our needs. So now we will search the embedding, and then we need to convert that data into a usable format. So once the embedding is searched, etc., that data has to be processed. So the code node is this for the data, and here it is. So what we are going to do is we are going to hit up a new AI agent. The source for the prompt is going to be defined. We are going to define our prompt. So our prompt is going to be we are going to just say the question, whatever is going to be typing, and we are going to have a system prompt. So again, the workflow is available for download. You don't need to pause this and look at it. You can simply import the workflow. So here we're going to say you're a helpful HR assistant for HR Chronicle, answer the questions, and you're giving some instructions how to respond. So you will see how this falls into action. It's just amazing, actually. It's very simple. It's very simple, very amazing. Once you get a concept, you can build much more complex chatbots as well. So I hope you are following me. So we have to choose the chat model. We have to use the OpenAI chat model, use the chat GPT-4, and we don't need the responses API, and load up the memory as well. Use simple memory, leave the context window as 5, default settings, no other thing you need to do. And there you are ready to do a test. Our chatbot is ready to do the testing. We'll tidy up the workflow a bit. We will add a code node to do some formatting as well. So whatever response ChatGPT is giving, we need to give a response back to the chat window. So that's only for formatting purpose. Again, if it doesn't make sense to you, it's fine. Once you see it in action, it will start to make some sense. So I'll say I want to set up a single sign-on system. So here it is. It's firing up. It got the embedding. It fired up the workflows. And here you see it gave a response from our very own embedded system with the link all baked in. So our chatbot is actually fully functional and ready. So we are almost 25 minutes through and our chatbot is ready. So you see how simple it is to do it. Now we'll wire it all up in WordPress. So let's head over to your WordPress admin panel. We need a plugin called WP Code Lite. So it's a free plugin. So if you don't have it, just click on add plugin, search for the plugins below WP Code Lite and download and activate it. It's free of cost. You don't need to do anything. So it helps ingest code inside WordPress. WordPress is a powerful little platform basically. So now you click on add snippet, then you click add custom code snippet. Choose HTML and copy paste the code I have given you in the resources. You just need to change the URL of the webhook, and down you need to choose the location, which is site wide footer, because we need the chatbot in the footer. You just need to change the location for the webhook. So go to your N8N and take the chat URL from here and just copy paste in the webhook section over there and save the snippet and make it active. You need to publish the workflow if it's not already published, otherwise it won't work. You can just set that up later. You can name the chatbot whatever you like and make sure you make it active. Save it and make it active on the top right corner or in the status here. So this is another bot I had. I'm going to just make it inactive so it doesn't clash. So I'm going to make the one I made now as active. So here it is. I am just making it active. So you need to ensure your chatbot is active after you put the URL. So now it's ready for showtime. So now so basically this code is all branding which we did in the WordPress site. So you can change your colors. You can just give it to ChatGPT on any AI model and just tell them to brand it to suit your needs. So that should do the trick. I'm using blue scheme, so I brand all blue. So now we are going to see that in action. We will click on the chatbot here. So this is our chatbot loading. Please help me set up single sign-on. I purposefully misspelled it, so it takes the inference. Yeah, okay. So now what you do is you get the response with the link, and there you are. So your chatbot is ready. Let's see what it executed. So we go to the executions to check what information did it give back. So here you go. So yeah, it did create the embedding. It went, so this is how the embeddings look like. It went through all of the process and it gave a response. So I hope you have enjoyed this session of creating a real chatbot. So let's recap what we did. We built a chatbot. It takes information from your site. Then we had the prerequisites set up. We did all the steps, step 1, step 2, step 3. If you have reached this far, many congratulations to you. Now you are capable of building chatbots in N8N. Thank you.